Hello there, you're watching and listening to another Scoutcast from www.fantasyfootballscout.co.uk, and my name is Mark.
My name's John T.
And my name's Andy.
Good evening, gentlemen. I've just realised it's the Christmas episode. I should have made some kind of effort. Maybe should have got a tree up or something like that, but not to worry, we'll press on regardless. Good evening, gentlemen, how do I find you?
Yeah, good. Well, I've no beard or hat. I've just got some little reindeer ears, in case people think I've actually kind of sprouted kind of antlers and extra ears.
No, pretty good effort. Better than me, but not better than me. But
yeah, you could have made an effort then.
Well, I just realised, haven't I? Never mind. Andy, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. No beard here, but the good thing is I can still drink, unlike yourself.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this, but I'm sure I'll get used to it. I'll get used to it. Nice tree in the background there.
Exactly. Yeah, hat, jumper, tree, triple up.
I'm without decorations. No effort made whatsoever in my cell. I am. Good evening. Welcome to Three Wise Men talking about fantasy football. If only that was the case. We're very unwise indeed. No ho to go around tonight. We've had some very mediocre game weeks in the Contributors League, and 3 of those mediocre game weeks are going to be talking to you tonight. Yes, very little to shout about really. We've got plenty to cover though. We're going to cover Mourinho, his departure, Chelsea's revival under Hindick maybe, who knows. Igalo, Aguero and strikers. Once again we're talking about strikers. Every week we have this. We're going to talk about Xmas differentials. Is there any differentials on offer over Christmas? And linking into that, we're going to talk Dullards versus Mavericks. So apparently the battle is over. Apparently the Dullards have won, John T. That's what I've heard.
Well, yes, it's a bit more complicated than that because I'm a Dullard and I certainly haven't won. So we'll discuss that in detail later, definitely.
And we'll see how long I can keep this beard on for. And I just hope that everyone can understand me. It's aggravating me. I've had it on for 40 minutes while I wait for Andy and John to turn up, but we'll see. And I can barely drink through it. So sorry to the listener who's not looking at the visuals. You really should be looking at the visuals. But I've got a big white beard on, which is very, very uncomfortable. But I do my best to labour on, and I'm sorry if I sound a bit muffled this week. Okay, the game week in question was very unspectacular, wasn't it, John T?
It was, although this is typical of this odd season. So I got 62 points. Now 62 points in last season or the season before season gone by. I think wow, it was pretty good. My team got 4 goals scored, 4 assists, quite a few bonus. I got points for my captain Lukaku, and I dropped 100,000 places.
Yeah.
I got a 100,000 place drop. Red arrow, absolutely crazy. 2 key factors: didn't captain Mahrez. I've been ignoring, well, not ignoring Igalo. I've been aware of Igalo, but I've been going for other options, and that's the story. If I'd have had those 2, there we go. I'd have probably had a green arrow, or maybe not. That's how crazy this season is.
And what about you, Andy? It was a very similar story, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's almost identical. Really, got 60 points, which in a normal season is kind of what I'd like to aim for as a decent enough week. But yeah, same story. Had Mahrez, but didn't captain him. Had Ozil. All my strikers scored, and yet I still got punished for not having Igalo, and Vardy outscored 2 of them again with 2 assists. And like a lot of people, I just can't buy a clean sheet right now. Not one of my defenders or goalkeepers got a clean sheet. So yeah, 60, but fell up. I think it was 130,000 places. I'm now down to 876k.
Yeah, I mean, similar story here. I mean, I got Lukaku captain. I kind of ate humble pie on that. Had to go Lukaku, and I'm kind of glad I did. But then I could have gone Mahrez, but didn't really enter my mind at all. I'm slipping rank week by week. It's getting so bad. I'm going to have to keep this disguise on. I think my season's going so bad. Granville did captain Mahrez. He's not here tonight. He's on a brief break from Fantasy Premier League at the moment, as I understand. Hope to get him back in the new year. I hope so. Anyway, I was hoping he'd have a good game week. Didn't quite happen. He got 64 points, and he did captain the Mahrez, didn't he, John T?
He did, yeah, but he still had a ranking drop, and he's on the edge of just about to slip out of the top million, which was the score of 64. It's almost like, I mean, yeah, if he was on here, we'd be having an almighty miffed, I would imagine. So perhaps we've been spared a miffed.
I think he's past that at the moment. I think he's a little bit disinterested. Hopefully he'll be back in the new year revived. That'll be his New Year's resolution, hopefully. But yes, no sign of Granville tonight. But we're going to press on regardless of our game weeks. because there's always people in the community to cheer us up. Rough with the smooth, Jonty. Come on, give us some rough. Give us some rough.
God, there's some rough ones here. Well, Kings of Leon, he's another one like Ramble, who's grown a bit disillusioned. Can't quite work out what's going wrong. So he's held on to Hazard for 9 weeks.
That's incredible for a start.
Which is incredible patience. So he finally sold him when it was clear that Hazard wasn't going to play, and got him in for Sanchez, who then didn't play. Which then got Sinclair off the bench, and Sinclair...
What's he doing with Scott Sinclair still?
I believe Sinclair was one of the 59-minute brigade in that he didn't quite get that extra point, so he just got 1 point there, so that's pretty bad. Cocky Spaniel Alves.
This is a cracker, isn't it?
What a week. So he got rid of Vardy.
This is his wild card, by the way.
Yeah, wild card. Got rid of Vardy, Igalo, Kane, Özil. I mean, that's 8 points, 13 points,
I don't get that. Why would he do that? To break the template up, I guess.
I don't understand that. I mean, all of those players are ones people would either want to get in or already have. Yeah. In came Aguero, 2 points. Ramsey, 2 points. Coutinho, 2 points. Silva, 1 point. So he's gone for some... I mean, it's
brave stuff.
It's brave, but he's also slightly dullard in a way. He's got rid of his exciting new players, Igalo and Özil in a way is a new player. He's a new player this season because we haven't seen Özil in this form before in the Premier League. And in come the old favourites, Ramsey, Aguero, Coutinho, Silva. His defence did slightly better. He didn't really. He got Dyer in, but he benched him. So pretty bad. And there's a story here from Apple Bonkers.
I've got to tell this. So this is a great story about Danny Rose, right? So he signed Danny Rose at the start of the season, and then he got a late injury before game week 1, so he didn't start. If you remember rightly, Danny Rose didn't start. He missed game week 2, and he missed game week 3, and so Apple Bonkers goes and sells in game week 4. He started game week 4, and he got a clean sheet. So Apple Bonkers missed that. That's one clean sheet missed, and then he didn't come back till game week 9, and he came back at that point with a clean sheet and some bonus. So Apple Bonkers brought him back, had him for the next 4 games. Tottenham conceded every single one of those games. And then basically he benches him. So Apple Bonkers gets him back and he benches him against Chelsea, and Spurs go and get a clean sheet. Just goes on and on. And then this weekend he basically had him, and then he didn't turn up, did he? He went missing, struck down by illness, and so basically no clean sheets from Danny Rose all season. He's been in and out of his team, and somehow he's managed to miss all those Tottenham clean sheets he's got. It's just that's very, very unlucky, but it's just cursed by Danny Rose. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to sell him, but unbelievable.
Broadway Danny Rose stuff, isn't it? It's absolutely a legendary tale there. I've got some smooths though.
Yeah, come on, hit us with some smooth.
People have done all right. Every dog has its day. Free transfer. Kane to Igalo. So I mean, yeah. So
brave again.
7 points up, but kudos for bravery there. And this is the best one. He got rid of Kolarov for Ivanovic. So Ivanovic suddenly ignites this week, and we'll talk about Chelsea later. And he also captained Mahrez as well. So the sun was shining on him that week. He did bench Dele Alli though, got 10 points. But nevertheless, our very own Disable, our resident Sky game expert in FPL, he captained Igalo.
I don't get that. Captain Igalo is just incredible. I got Liverpool at home.
In the Sky game, Watford are doing him really well. So he's got a Watford defender in FPL as well. I believe he's got 2 or 3. I think he might have 3 actually Watford defenders in the Sky game.
Yeah, it makes sense.
They're racking up the clean sheets, and it's just doing him really well. So Nabil, Hazard out, Ali in, Dele Alli in, great move. Eden Hazardus. He captain. Well, who else would he captain? Eden Hazard, of course. But who was his vice captain? Mahrez.
Got lucky there, didn't he? That was huge.
Well, brilliant news. Yeah, and Baby B. Now this is the first week of the FPL Cup, I believe, and Baby B qualified, I believe, by the skin of his teeth with a rank of 2,075,000 something or other. So he
just sneaked in. Now a lot of people probably went unnoticed at the cup launch this week. So last game week 17 was a qualifying round. I just sneaked in. John T, you in? I take it, are you?
Yeah, I'm in. Okay. Yeah, I'm in.
Okay. Yeah, Andy, yourself? I guess you are.
Yeah, I got into. Yeah, I'd already looked at my opponent, and expecting a loss on the cards.
Yeah, we're going to talk about our opponents at the end. I've got the fear. Ivanovic, rewind a little bit, Andy. Ivanovic, one of the smooth operators, got him in. You talked about him last week, didn't you? You called it. Didn't follow through, though, did you?
Yeah, it was one of the questions about, with all this money, where are we going to spend it in defence? And that was one of the names I called out. And not for any stats or anything, I just saw him against Bournemouth, and he was so far forward that I thought, maybe over these fixtures he'd do all right. And yeah, I thought about it on Saturday, put a post up on the site thinking about getting rid of Bertrand, and I just ended up banking the transfer and obviously regretted it later on.
So frustrating.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. Okay, we've got lots of questions to get through, Jonty, haven't we? Shall we start off on Chelsea, though? Because we've got to talk about Mourinho's departure. I did a preamble on Saturday morning. Personally, it's sad to see him go. I mean, I used to have a lot of fun kind of decrypting his press conferences and trying to read between the lines of everything he said. I completely mistrusted him, but I enjoyed the kind of the relationship that Jose and I had. I thought we weren't very close. He often crossed me, but he's gone now, soon to return. But we've got Gus Hiddink in charge. He wasn't in charge at the weekend, but what a transformation already. Jonty, you got some stats there, have you, on the Sunday?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's it. I mean, Jomica asks, are Chelsea worth investment now? And, well, what a turnaround. Okay, so we know how poor Chelsea have been doing. They've been, many weeks, they've been actually bottom for shots on goal, chances conceded in the box. They've been way down there. But what happened against Sunderland? They were third highest for shots, top shots in the box, game 17, top for shots on target, top for big chances. Chelsea were the best team in terms of underlying stats in game week 17. So who was doing well for them? Oscar, 5 shots. Only Lukaku managed to get more shots away. Oscar's got 1% ownership. We're talking about differentials, 1%. But obviously there's going to be some rotation there. So you've got William, Pedro, Hazard, Oscar. That's 4. You've got 3 slots. One's going to miss out.
The thing is about Hiddink as well, his record at Chelsea back when he was in charge back in 2009, 22 games in charge, win rate 73%, which is the best manager in Chelsea's history, which is ridiculous, isn't it? So we're kind of, based on that, we should expect Hiddink to work his magic and Chelsea to be revived. And we're going to talk later about differentials, and we're going to talk later about Dallas versus Mavericks and how we need something to pep this season up. Perhaps it is going to be Chelsea against the odds. Perhaps some of those players that you mentioned there are going to turn this season on its head. Andy, what do you feel about Chelsea? Are you tempted to dive back in already?
Well, I think it'd be good if some of their players start performing well. Like you say, we do need kind of to mix it up a bit. I just think initially nothing's really changed for them. Starting up front, Costa, there's just not really space for all the strikers that are currently doing well. As Jonty said just a minute ago, you've got 3 spots for 4 players. So you think Hazard's going to start every game, but he's not been on it this season. I mean, last year he only scored 14 goals, but that was when he was voted like player of the season. So what's he going to come back and do now? So I don't know. Initially, I'd say probably I'm still going to steer clear, maybe look at the defence. But hopefully in a couple of weeks, maybe when we get into wildcard, in the second half of the season, possibly, hopefully the Chelsea attacker will be doing well.
Yeah, I'm still holding Zuma, who's been a figure of fun for you, Jonty, I know. But are you tempted to dive in with him at all? Or?
No, well, I'd like to see who's going to be. I think the rumours are that when it comes to Hiddink, it's basically player power rules, but Hiddink kind of basically manages that situation. So you're going to see the likes of John Terry, the senior players, Ivanovic, getting much more of a say, I think. So I think Ivanovic is going to be nailed on. I think Terry's going to get much more game time. I'm not quite sure about Zuma. Perhaps not. So we'd like to see that situation. And he's going to. I mean, we mentioned 3. 4 doesn't go into 3, so he's going to have a real headache here. In my goals imminent table, so here it is.
Oh God! Look, it's 20 minutes in, and we're not even that.
There's a Chelsea player. No, he snuck in. He was in there last week. So last week he was in there going into the game week. Pedro, and he delivered. So he scored, and he's still in there because my goals imminent table only counts 1 goal. So as soon as you get more than that 1, you're off. So he's still there, and he's still getting those goal attempts in. So I mean, if he's starting, you've got real choice there. But which one's it going to be? I think we're going to find out over the next few weeks, and that's going to be great news for veteran dullards like us, because we like a little bit of safety at Chelsea, I think.
But you've just sold Hazard, haven't you? Just got rid.
Yeah, but I sold
your friend Ramsey.
I sold him for Aaron Ramsey, so I don't really care what happens with that because I've got Aaron Ramsey in my side. He's a player I really like. And the role that Hazard had in my team, talk about differentials, that's a kind of a differential slot. I've got lots of playing the percentages, and I like to have a differential. I thought Hazard was going to be it. I don't think he was. Could still be, and I could still get him in. At the moment, I think Ramsey's the man for that role. I think he pips Eden Hazard to that place. So, but yeah, time will tell.
Okay, well, we're going to talk more about Arsenal midfielders later on, because I've got something up my sleevey. Let's talk strikers. Ighalo he's wrecking our seasons, isn't he? We talk about Vardy. Everyone's got him, of course. Ighalo, not the case. None of us have him. Granville doesn't have him. Obviously, a lot of people in our Contributors League don't have him, judging by the scores this week. Some people, as we've already seen, have captained him last week. What do we make of Ighalo? I mean, the fixtures are tough for Watford, but it doesn't seem to be affecting Ighalo at all, does it? He just seems to be ploughing on, relentless, and what a bargain he's been.
Well, he has, and I mean, there's one of our community writers, Cavalli, has put up. He's starting a series of articles where he's tracking the performances of 34 veteran Fantasy Premier League managers. So that includes us lot. Yeah. It includes people who've won it as well.
I find it very depressing.
2 or 3 winners in there, and he's got some, some serious. Not just they've got some good managers, and then those like us who are just kind of experienced and not doing so well. And he's tracking us because he was wondering why we're all doing so badly. And Ighalo is a perfect example of why. So if you look in the top 10,000, 60% of the top 10,000 managers have Ighalo. It's just 1 in 10 of this sample of 34 veterans. That just shows. So when Ighalo's got that huge ownership amongst the top players, scores 2 goals, we're looking at a red arrow. Without even putting a foot on our virtual pitch.
Now, the reason why none of us have got Ighalo, none of those experienced players have got it, because we've gone Kane, according to the article. So a lot of us own Kane. I'm included in that. You've just got him in. Andy, have you got Kane as well?
Yeah, I've Kane. I got Kane, Giroud, and Lukaku. Right, that's the main reason I don't have Ighalo is because there's just not enough room right now to justify making a transfer when all my strikers have just scored and they've got decent fixtures coming up.
This is it, and you don't need the Ighalo frees up funds, but we don't need it right now. Sanchez isn't about. Ozil's a lot cheaper and potentially a better option, as we've seen with his consistent assists. So, Ighalo's appeal is obviously he's being prolific, but it's the funds he frees up. Now, if we needed that money, then we would all be rushing to it. But I guess there's the option to sell Kane, and that frees up the funds to get Aguero. But as we're going to look at in a minute, a lot of people are asking about Aguero, John T, and that it's far from certain we're going to even get turned to the Argentine, particularly with Ighalo in such form. So a lot of people are asking about him, isn't there?
Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of questions about strikers. Doolittle asked which strikers do we get in. We've mentioned a lot of the names. Even Hazardus asked the same. Escucci, what do we think of Aguero? Jeans, Rodallega as well. They're all asking about Aguero. Do we get him in?
Yeah.
For me, no. And it's not because of price. It's 2 reasons. One is I've got Kane, Vardy, and Lukaku. All of them got me points this week. All of them are getting me points pretty much every week. Kane, admittedly, has been on a bit of a dent, but I think we established on the site, and it was one of our regular posters, Pochettino, posted as well, saying that when Dembele plays, that basically binds the Tottenham attack together. And then that equals goal attempts for Kane. When Dembele doesn't play, the whole system for Kane just doesn't work. So that's something we need to look out for. So do I get rid of Kane? He's got Norwich next. Dembele's back. I get rid of Lukaku?
I'll tell you what's interesting though, John T. I did a stats table before we came on air. I had a look at sorted by goal attempts. Ighalo, there he is at the top. This is the last 4 matches in the Premier League. Ighalo, 19 goal attempts. Lukaku, 19 goal attempts. So they're the 2 form strikers, no doubt. Vardy, isn't actually there in terms of goal attempts because he's just been so consistent in terms of hitting the target. So he hasn't needed many goal attempts to keep his goal rate up. But you go down the list and you get to Harry Kane. And 11 goal attempts, not bad. He's sitting 6th in the last 4 matches. 7 penalty box touches, though. that's a bit worrying, isn't it? I mean, that's incredible. So he's clearly seeing a lot of the ball outside the box, and is that what you're talking about? Is because people were talking about when Dele Alli plays and Dembele doesn't, Kane for some reason drops deep more often, and that seems to flip around when Dembele's in the side. Is that the theory?
Yeah, no. What it is basically if you look at Dembele's stats, they're very high with pass accuracy, very high with chance creation. So it's not necessarily he's creating that chance for Kane. He's creating the chance for someone. So someone's getting it, and then perhaps Kane can move in. And so that's what he's doing. So basically, when the play is moving around that attacking, that kind of final third, when it gets to Dembele, he can pass it accurately to someone. Mm-hmm. When he doesn't play, or he's off form, then it's going to Dele Alli, and his pass accuracy is terrible in comparison. Quite a good young player, but he's no Dembele when it comes to that kind of move. It's a kind of, I suppose, I mean, Modric wasn't as in that more of attacking role, but it's that kind of influence he has on the side, and that was what the research was showing, was that Dembele on the pitch, Kane gets the goal, and you saw it. Kane's penalty area box touches, his goal attempts, his shots in the box were all up. He was just in the box more. So when Dembele's not there, he's forced to move back a bit because he's having to move closer to Dele Alli because Dele Alli is so terrible at passing. And when I say terrible in comparison,
you're being harsh.
I'm being harsh, but you can see the issue because as fantasy managers, we're not interested who actually wins. We don't really care whether Spurs win or not. Spurs can lose, can concede 10 goals, but if they score 8 and Kane's scoring 8 of them, then we're happy. And that's the problem is that Spurs are still kind of winning. They're still grinding out results or draws even without Dembele. But maybe Dele Alli will get a goal, maybe Eriksen will, maybe Lamela will get one. But that's of no interest to us. We want the man up front, Kane, that we've invested that precious striker slot to go for.
Well, we're going to talk about Kane and the captaincy at the end of the show because there's a particular concern with that. Andy, your strikers then, you're quite happy with them, same as Jonty and I. I mean, Jonty and I got the same strikers. You've got Giroud in there. Are you not worried about Giroud Walcott rotation coming up maybe over Christmas?
Yeah, a little bit, but I think with the Sanchez news, I'm not so bothered about it. I think the main person to come in, I suppose, would be maybe Oxlade-Chamberlain and Walcott to go up front. But the fact that he keeps playing Joel Campbell makes me think he doesn't really trust Chamberlain that much. So until Sanchez is back, I just think Walcott keeps playing, Giroud keeps playing, and maybe Chamberlain comes in for Campbell. But it's a slight risk maybe, but I'm pretty happy with him at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the back four then, because the way it looks at the moment, the way the template is right now, we've talked about the strikers being almost set in stone with 3 or 4 just looking so out in front really. I mean, maybe 5 with Giroud if you put him in there with Ighalo, Vardy and Lukaku and Kane. Defence seems to be the way we can kind of differentiate our sides a bit because the midfield is there's about 7 or 8 players in there as well. So people are asking about defences over Christmas, aren't they, Jonty? A lot of questions on that.
Yeah, so I mean, Beavis asks, about the man I've been calling Toby A. I'm going to make an attempt.
You've been practicing, haven't you?
I've been studying, but I'm going to have to go possibly a little bit Steve McLaren at the end because I was studying how Toby A of Spurs pronounces it. So it's Alderweireld like that.
Oh, very good.
Kind of Alderweireld. Is anyway, him Toby A is incredibly expensive, 5.9 now. So Beavis says, should we be getting him in? Obviously, Spurs have good fixtures, and Kick-It makes up the same point that you've just been making about defences. This is where we should be looking for differentials. It's certainly where I have. That's why I got Scott Dan in. I've been rewarded by that as well. He's got me a goal. He's got me a clean sheet in a couple of past 2 out of the 3 matches I've had him. Absolutely, that's what you want really. So yeah, I agree. I'm looking at Toby A this week, possibly. I think, and also those other ones. I've got money to spare now, so perhaps Ivanovic. I'm looking for a defender who can get me some extra points.
It's the goals, isn't it? You've said it before, and I went Dawson with my transfer this week. The reason being that I had a look at the number of touches in the box that their defenders are getting, and they're actually their key goal threat at the moment. McCauley scored at the weekend, Dawson scored the week before that. Dawson was unlucky not to score. last weekend he had a good half chance, maybe even a sitter you could classify it as. So I nearly got a goal out of him straight away. So clean sheets are unreliable this season. But if you get centre backs like Dan, like Dawson, who trundle up to the penalty area for set pieces, it gives you that. When you're watching these teams, it gives you that little bit of hello, here's a chance. You've said it before, haven't you, John? I like the appeal of that. So I'm looking at Scott Dan. I'm going to follow your lead, I think, and I'm looking at getting Dawson and Dan. I mean, Palace have got good fixtures coming up. They've got Bournemouth away, but then Swansea at home and Chelsea at home. So their next three pretty strong, to be honest. And West Brom equally as well.
I mean, I've got Ward and Dan. I mean, I'm really maxing out there because Ward's just on my bench. So if I get a clean sheet from Dan, that's great. If I have Ward's clean sheet on the bench, well, so be it. But he's cover for Christmas, and my cover over Christmas is the defence, and it should be everyone's. So you want these lads on the bench there. I mean, Andy, in terms of defenders, are you happy with your defence? Is there any particular defenders you're after?
So I mean, differential-wise, I know a lot of people recently have been getting rid, but possibly after their first clean sheet in about 12 games, someone like Ashley Williams maybe is going to be nailed over Christmas. West Brom up next at home. Next 5 fixtures they got Sunderland and Watford at home as well, so he might be one to look at. In terms of my own defence, it looks good on paper, but it's just can't buy a clean sheet. Chris Smalling's due a goal. No idea when that's coming.
You keep saying that, Andy, don't you?
I know, exactly. Bertrand is, Southampton aren't keeping clean sheets. I've got Klein, Liverpool aren't keeping clean sheets, and like Apple Bonkers, I've got Danny Rose. So I've actually got 4 reasonably placed defenders, plus Huth, who's nailed. So in terms of cover, it's okay, but just clean sheet wise, it's just not happening really. So I think Toby A is probably a decent choice there.
Yeah, I think the one thing you said, Jonty, you've got to get these defenders in, and you said about Ashley Williams there, Andy, that players like Scott Dan, Alderweireld, these are players who aren't. You can't imagine them getting rotated. You just think they're too pivotal to that back four. If you take them out, they're just not the same defence at all. Wes Morgan for Leicester, you can't see him being rotated. So it's actually worth looking at these players who. Okay, they might not get you a clean sheet, but they've got a set piece for it, and you're going to get starts out of them. And I think that's worth doing at this. If you've got transfers, I call them vanity transfers. If you've got no other fires to put out, get one of these centre backs in. I think that's the way to go. And I'm looking at Dan with my next transfer. I think it is hard to call in terms of clean sheets, but they do look decent differentials. And Scott Dan could come in for you again with another double figure haul, couldn't he?
Yeah, I'll play him every week, especially away as well. I'm going to turn to another table constructor here from the Fantasy Football Scout community. Doosra, a favourite of ours. He's got a nice table called Doosra's Dangerous Defenders. I was having a look at. This is quite handy. So he's looking at the last 6 game weeks and minimum of 1 shot in the box. So at least he's getting those ones. So the ones at the top there. Dan is 3rd. This is good. So Dan's getting those shots on target, shots in the box as well. Which is good. Glenn Johnson is another there. Daniel's at Bournemouth. Now, I've talked about Moneyball under the radar. Daniel's at Bournemouth there.
Took a pen, didn't he, the other day?
Yeah. Toby A is in there. Now, it's not Dawson you should be looking at. It should be Jonas Olsen at West Brom.
Yeah, he's not nailed though, is he? I mean, Dawson. Having said that, Dawson could rotate with Chester. So it's difficult, West Brom's defence.
And a couple more names. And you'll be pleased, Smalling's in this list, and one I'm looking at, Cresswell. And the reason I'm looking at Cresswell, not only he's only got a couple of shots on target in the last few game weeks, so it's not great. But you look at the fixtures, fixtures over Christmas: Aston Villa, Southampton, indulgent. And then I'm looking at Liverpool as well, and the way West Ham are set up. So they're saying, we've had Slaven Bilic on saying, my creative players have gone. So there's basically shut up shop. He's basically bought Jose Mourinho's bus. Mourinho's parting gesture was to rack up at West Ham with a massive London bus and say, "Here you go, Slaven, look after it for me."
He's just going to grind out some draws or 1-0s, and you've got to think that they've got Villa away next, and then Southampton and Liverpool. These are fixtures that they can easily keep clean sheets in those. And Cresswell, he's got a dead ball on him, hasn't he? He can deliver. So I think you could be lucky there, get some bonus points thrown in. Good option. There's good options across these defences, and I think I think this is the way to go in terms of differentials. But we've got a question on differentials right now, haven't we, John?
Yeah, Rusty BZ. Who are the biggest Christmas differentials? So, I mean, Mark, you've got one in mind, I understand.
Yeah, we've mentioned him already. My friend Theo. I've said before, whenever there's a chance of getting him in, I take it. And I don't necessarily think that he's good mid-term, long-term, or maybe for 2 or 3 weeks. I think that Sanchez injury, the update that Andy mentioned, the fact that Sanchez looks like he's going to be out into the new year, that basically means that Arsenal's fixtures, Southampton, Bournemouth at home and Newcastle at home, those 3 fixtures, Southampton away at the moment, the Southampton defence are conceding, Bournemouth at home and Newcastle at home. Now, Newcastle at home, you expect goals in that one. Newcastle defence away from home, pretty dreadful. Bournemouth is interesting because Bournemouth will face Palace at the Vitality Stadium and then 2 days later have to go to the Emirates. And the reason why that's a hot spot is because Bournemouth squad, it looks like, they've got injuries all season. They've had injuries. Stanislaus could be out, King could be out. They haven't got many options at the back. They're going to go to the Emirates. Presumably Eddie Howe's going to have to rotate a little bit, or they're going to be absolutely fatigued, aren't they? And up against Arsenal. Now the issue here is we don't know who Wenger's going to put out. But it could be, it just could be that Walcott starts up front instead of Giroud, in that he rests Giroud for that game at home to Bournemouth. And if that's the case, Walcott could catch light, couldn't he? I think, and that he could be a maverick armband choice for the game week 19. I think Walcott. So he's my 1.9% ownership. That could do a lot of damage if that comes in. So that's my one. That's my Christmas differential. You got one, Jonty?
Well, I mean, as you said, we talk about. I think it's in defence. I think we've got. I mean, I look at my front players. We've already mentioned. I've got Lukaku, Vardy, Kane, and then I've got Özil, Ramsey. I mean, Ramsey currently is my differential slot. But he's his ownership's increasing, but he's still that differential there. He's against the template. He looked great against City. He was one of the most attacking players. I think he was in terms of shots in the box actually. And so that's the guy I want. I think Arsenal are the place to go for whether it's a template or a differential. I just think they've got the form, they've got the fixtures, and I understand tonight. I was having a look on Twitter, and Andy, who's top of the mods and contributors league, is looking to get Walcott in. So you're in good.
Hey, there you go. Well, that's sealed the deal.
And so I mean, Andy, what about you? Who have you got your eye on for a good Christmas differential?
Yeah, so Ramsey and Walcott were top of my list. I think if you haven't already got an Arsenal defender, then tripling up is definitely a really good option. Apart from them, you've got people like mentioned Swansea again. I have to hope they turn it around, but maybe Sigurdsson. I think he also features on your goals imminent table. He's only owned by 3.1%. So if you need a cheaper midfielder, he might be one to go for, I think. But yeah, I think for me it's going to be one of the Arsenal midfielders. Just need to decide which one, because I've already got Ozil and Giroud. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think Arsenal are the way to go this Christmas. Those 2 home games, Newcastle, goals all over them, aren't they? Surely, with rotation in those defences, well, certainly in the Bournemouth defence to come. So, I think that is the way to go. Yeah, absolutely. So, next question, Jonty, what have we got coming up? Oh, it's Dullards versus Mavericks.
Dullards versus Mavericks. So Leaf asks, have Dullards won the battle, defeated the Mavericks for good?
Never.
Rod Lagerbomb said, has Mark come around to the idea of playing percentages?
Never.
So this is kind of 2 issues there. So, yeah, well, Mark, I mean, you say never. So, what do you think? Dullards, have they beat Mavericks? And what about playing the percentages?
I refer the honourable gentleman to the top of the Contributors League, and one aforementioned Andy Goddard, who is the archetype Maverick. He's beaten us all, so that completely destroys the whole idea that Dullards are winning out this season. But having said that, Andy's a very gifted fantasy manager, and I don't have his mojo, and well, nor does Andy here. And Jonty, you're a sworn dullard, so I think it is very hard for the Mavericks. I think you need a bit of inspiration, and Andy has got his inspiration from Leicester, who he supports, as we've talked about before. For the rest of us, it's been a very difficult season. I'm trying. Look, I point you to my efforts at being a Maverick, and it's summed up nicely by Sadio Mane. Like, this is my Danny Rose story. This is the rival Apple bonkers. So I had Hazard, didn't I? If you remember, I took a gamble on Hazard. He was my Maverick move. I thought Hazard's going to catch light. I'm going to get him for a couple of weeks and see if it takes off. Didn't work, so I transferred him out. I transferred him out for Sadio Mane because I thought he's another player, low ownership, could be explosive. At that point, when I got him in game week 11, he had 3 goals and 5 assists. Since that point, since game week 11, 1 assist. Right? Southampton have scored 5 goals in those 7 matches. Now you can say that, I should have sold him, by now. I should have got rid. I even played him over KDB at the weekend, which, as it turns out, I got away with. But look at the stats. I looked at the last 7 matches. Well, I've looked from game week 11 onwards to game week 17. Mane, 7 appearances, 20 attempts, 17 attempts inside the box. That's more than any other midfielder. And if you look at Mahrez over the same spell, he's had 19 shots to Mane's 20. But Mahrez has scored 8 goals. That's the big difference. Mane, 30% shots on target, none of them converted to goals. It's been an absolute disaster for me. That has been my Maverick move, and that sums up how Mavericks have got on this season. Stick to the templates, stick to the high ownership players, and you can't go far wrong. So it's hard to argue with some of the cases that say that the dullards are winning out. Jonty, I suppose you're just going to back that up.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's much more nuanced than that. It's not just kind of dullards, Mavericks. I mean, the way I play, while I like to be a dullard, called a dullard, I actually bit of both, and you can't be just a dullard. And this week shows how you can't just have the template, because if you have just the template and you go with the nice safe options, Lukaku's playing at home, and you've got all those main players in, you can't move. I went down 100,000 places with a team that's got 4 goals and got 4 assists. So I'm getting good, exciting players, but they're all owned by so many people. So you can't just play the percentages, and we'd never advocate that anyway. You have to mix it up. Where Andy, who heads Moderators and Contributors League, did well, it's because he's a Leicester fan. So he got those Leicester players in before we all knew how good Leicester were going to be. So he was gambling they were going to be good, and he got them in. And then so he had that head start. So he had those players in place weeks before others. And then he could do what he does best. He can get some more Maverick moves in. The rest of us, we can't just get. So look at Granville's not even here because he's been trying to do some Maverick things, not getting rid of Mahrez, captaining De Bruyne when everyone said he might be rested. All these kinds of moves like that. But whereas Granville's not here, so in defence of Granville, his score actually 64 this week was pretty good, I think. And because he started playing the percentages, he got Mahrez back in, so he's got a good captain there. He's got Barkley in. He's getting these players in. So what it is have the dullards won? No. Have the Mavericks won? No. What's happened is basically those who were ahead of the template are just there, and those who are behind the template were stuffed.
I'll put it to you, Andy. What do you feel? I put it to you, this season's in danger of getting dull, though, isn't it? Just because the template looks to be so rock solid with Mahrez, Agallo, Vardy, Lukaku, even players on the fringes like Barkley, Ozil's now template. Is there anywhere outside of these players? Is there anywhere we can go? And what do you think? And you catching Sturridge recently, so you had a go.
Yeah, that was probably a bit too Maverick. Yeah, I think that's the problem. I just don't see where the differentials are right now, and it's such a risk to try and get on someone like Sturridge. And like I say, that was probably a bit too out there. But there's only 3 striker spots. That's where it seems all the points are coming from. So we can't even get a couple more in. In midfield, Chelsea are no-go, United are a no-go. Arsenal have got a few now coming up. So perhaps this is the time for the Maverick to get ahead. Maybe captaining Walcott and Ramsey. And on the weekend, there was 4 clean sheets in 10 games. It's hard to pick a clean sheet right now. If you are getting one, it's probably from Butland, who a lot of people have got anyway. So it's just trying to find that differential is really difficult right now, and just something needs to, mix up FPL maybe a bit for those of us that are trying to climb ranks. So we're going to come on to transfers that might mix that up in a sec, but yeah, I just think it's hard right now, and some people I'm sure are doing it, but for the rest of us, finding it a bit difficult. Yeah,
we need something to shake it up, and we've got a question on the January window, haven't we? We're hoping this is where it comes from, aren't we?
Well, yeah. I agree, because I rather depressingly said, those who are behind the template are stuffed. Well, the template's going to change because we've got the January transfer window. So Balders asks, who do we want to see come into the league in January to shake up FPL? It was something I was discussing on Twitter with Kings of Leon and a few others today, and it's basically one of the reasons it's been a bit dull is because teams like Chelsea and Manchester United, which have usually been great sources of fantasy points, have just not been there.
Yeah.
So we've been missing them. And meanwhile, all of these other Igalus and Mahrezes have really been very, very kind of consistent. So what's going to shake it up? Massive improvement in form from Manchester United and Chelsea. We know they're capable of it. Possibly getting players in there. So possibly a new striker at Chelsea. Possibly a move, possibly some width, some genuine width and pace at Manchester United. They can drive forward. I think Louis van Gaal would have to go in order for that to happen. Because I can just see more boring matches for them.
Lots of talk about that.
So that's what I want. I want him to go. I want Manchester United to get back to being the team when I started doing fantasy football and I was getting Vidic, Ronaldo, Rooney, and I had those three in, and you could probably just get rid of your other players and just have them and still win it.
Yeah, I mean the thing is as well. I was thinking about this because we've got the if you haven't used your first wild card, you've got to use it by game week 19, right? So. Imagine, now this isn't the scene now, but imagine that we had the January wildcard still and we had those 4 weeks to use the January wildcard. I've got a feeling that if someone gave me a wildcard in game week 20 and said you've got 4 weeks to use it, I'd probably struggle. Because unless lots of new players come in to transform things in the transfer window at the end of January, I don't know how I would change my team. I'd make 2 or 3 changes. I might bring a Garlo in to free up some cash. I might spend a bit more at the back. I might gamble on Ivanovic. But to be honest, I don't think I'd make the 12, 13 changes that I normally would do with the January wildcard. Now, as it happens, fortunately, we don't have that, and we can keep the wildcard till later on, and we probably will keep it to double game weeks. But it's strange. I don't think I've ever got to Christmas and not been gasping to use my wildcard. But I'm not. I'm not doing very well. But I look at my team, and I don't know what to do with it. Andy, do you feel the same?
Exactly the same, to be honest. Like I said a couple of times now, there's no strikers I want to get rid of, etc. And you only have to listen to the roughs every week for people who have wildcarded, and they've just made their team worse because you feel like you have to get rid of people to justify using it. So people like Ighalo and Vardy are being taken out when they're still doing really well. So yeah, I'd like to see it shaken up. I had a thought about this because Boulder's asked this before, and the one that comes straight to mind is Charlie Austin back in somewhere like Swansea, maybe. Who could do with another striker, but again, that's just another striker to add to the mix.
You still got to be brave to do that. If he does arrive at somewhere like, you still got to be brave, haven't you?
I think like you were saying, maybe it's just changes in personnel. So you got Hiddink now. Hopefully he can spur Chelsea on. Possibly if Van Gaal goes, maybe we'll get someone who'll actually let United attack. And then you've got other people coming back, like Company's due back, so perhaps the City defence can be invested in again. Forster's coming back possibly for Southampton, so maybe their defence will. So not necessarily brand new transfers, just maybe a couple of injuries to return and change in personnel.
Yeah, we need Hazard to start getting goals. We need Mane to start scoring goals. We need Silva to get assists. There's the players out there who could change this season and turn it around. And kind of people with the template will suddenly go, oh, I need to sell Ozil now because he's getting me an assist every game, but Silva's getting an assist and a goal. Hazard's getting an assist and a goal. It's not happening at the moment. It doesn't look like happening right now. And so people can sit on this template team and be pretty secure with it. But we need something in January. Maybe a lot of money. It's being predicted a lot of money will be spent in January. We'll see. I mean, that's what I hope. I hope some big names come in, something that we can grasp onto and think that, okay, I can put the armband on this fella. He's got low ownership. And maybe I can make up some ranks. But at the moment, it looks pretty tough. Talking of rank, I think we've got a question on our ranked targets this season for the three of us, which would be very depressing, I'm sure.
Well, yeah. So FFScoutCast asks, what's our realistic overall rank target this season? I mean, mine, as ever, is always want to be in the top 1,000. I end up at the last 5 seasons in the top 10,000. This season, I'm about 300,000. And I think that's a little bit further behind than I've ever been at this time. And so you never know. I mean, we don't know I still think chips are at play here. I think the savvy managers like us, hopefully, if we can get it right with a triple captaincy on a good double game week, that could turn things around. But without them, if we get that wrong, because we've had good and bad double game weeks, if we get the double game weeks wrong, I mean, that's the end of it. So realistically, my targets are moving down. I'm always enjoying it though, and there's certain mini leagues I'd quite like to win or do well in, get some cash prizes there. I won't do something drastic. They had a similar thing with Ultimate Fantasy Premier League. My overall rank was really bad. And I was just thinking, what's the point of this really? Wild Rover, who's won one of the monthly prizes, said just go monthly, and I have done. And it's been great. And at one point, a week or so ago, I was in the top 100 for the month. So I was within 10 points of that prize. A bit further back now, but it's completely revitalised that game for me. So my target is less about rank because my rank's so bad. It's just to keep enjoying it, not to get down about it. And you just got to just keep trucking along and enjoy the challenge of it all.
Absolutely, Andy. What about yourself? I mean, what's your worst finish in your career, FPL career?
I think 2 seasons ago I finished just outside the top 100k.
That's your worst finish?
Yeah. And then other than that, I've been... Last year was the first time inside the top 10k. And then other than that, it's been like 15 or 20k. So, I don't know. I mean, this year in game week 8, I was 36k. And now I'm 872. So, I looked at... I used the Gargatron earlier to look up kind of how far behind I am. So to get into the top 10k right now, I'm 147 points behind already.
Oh, that's depressing.
So, yeah. So top 50k is 111. So top 50k has to be, I suppose, the aim right now. Possibly top 10k. But like Jonty said, we don't know how much chips have already affected it. Like, I'm sure there's some stats around about how many have already been used. So, yeah, perhaps if we can, nail a triple captain in a double game week when other people aren't even aware of it, possibly we can climb back up, but 872k, I don't really know what I'm expecting.
I can see it now. Stefan Sessignon, triple captain coming in, game week 37. Yeah. Bang, there it is. Well, my worst season ever was 2013-14. 192,000. Pretty bad. I mean, I've got a good record aside from that. So basically, my target has got to be. Well, I've got to beat that first of all. I can't do worse than 192,000. Right now, I'm 450 something thousand in the world. It's just been 3 red arrows in a row. I got up to like 200,000. It's just been sliding away since then. And like I said though, I'm looking at the team and I'm like, well, I've got strength and depth. I like everything in that team. I don't know what to change really. I don't know. I've been getting the captaincy wrong, I suppose, but I don't know. I'm at a loss at the moment. I sympathise with Granville because I know exactly how he's feeling as well. It's been a very strange season, and while it's been unpredictable in Premier League terms, this season, as we've mentioned, he's getting rather too predictable. So we'll see. Let's get on to something a bit more off the cuff, shall we? I think there's a question about Fantasy Football Scouts, the movie, isn't there?
Yeah,
What's this about?
This is Leaf. He asks if stroke when, so obviously it's going to be when, Fantasy Football Scouts comes as big as Facebook and they decide to make a social network type film, will play us all. So he's made
some great suggestions.
So Pochettino has come up with some suggestions. So for me, Adam Sandler apparently.
I had a look at the picture he sent, and he's got a point. I think
he's got a point. I mean, I think obviously when Santi Cazorla, hangs up his boots and goes into acting, perhaps Rafa Benitez does a bit of Amdram on the side. Yeah. He could. If I put on a bit of weight over Christmas.
Well, that's been known, I'm sure, Joe.
Yeah. I mean, for yourself, Mark, who would?
Well, he's gone with Jarvis Cocker, which is very very predictable. I think obviously the current look with this beard that I've grown, it's not the case. But if you look at David Thewlis, if you look him up, THEWLIS, he was in one of my favourite films, Naked by Mike Leigh. I'm sure you've both seen it. Excellent film if that's on at Christmas. Very depressing, dark film. It's not going to make your Christmas. I wouldn't roll it on After a Wonderful Life, put it that way. But David Thewlis, great actor, and there is a certain resemblance to me in a certain light. So I think he would nail me. He's a Mancunian though, so that would be a bit of a problem with the relationship with Granville. So we'd have to work on that. I'm sure we can do a kind of West London nasal accent though. I think he could pull that off quite easily. Andy, have you got any thoughts if you were in this film, who would play you there?
I wouldn't have a clue. I think as a big fan of 24, I'd love it. Maybe someone like Kiefer Sutherland, but it certainly wouldn't be on looks wise.
Well, method acting. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe he could pull it off. I reckon he could pull it off.
Red Lightning reckons David Jason should play Granville for the Open All Hours reference there, of course. Yeah, well, I had a look at Pochettino's. did he put an image up for him as well? Yeah, Patton Oswell, who's not someone I'm aware of. Had a look. He's not far off, you know. Well, yeah, maybe that's being unkind to Granville.
We've had a few more suggestions. Michael Brown on YouTube has just suggested for Granville Seth Rogen, so I'm sure he'll be delighted with.
Blimey, that's a result.
Someone else as well. For you, Mark. Mike Myers, apparently. So I don't know in what guise.
That's a bit strange. Well, maybe the glasses. I see what you're saying. Maybe. Who was that? Very cool stuff. Let's get off this subject, shall we? Let's do the weekend preview. Clean sheets, Fancy Island risks. Let's get it done. Okay, Andy, have you got some clean sheets? Let's pick one each, shall we? You go first, then, Andy.
Yeah, I actually think I might stick with Ashley Williams, Swansea, to get a clean sheet against West Brom at home. Seems like not a banker, of course, but they just picked one up, and like I said earlier, it's the first one in like 12 games or something.
That's right.
West Brom have never usually got much attacking threat. So yeah, I think
London's suspended as well, isn't he? So he's out, and McLean suspended too. So two of their first choice attackers out. Looks a good bet, that one. John T, have you got one?
Yeah, I think West Ham, they're completely set up for keeping clean sheets currently. They've been keeping clean sheets against some much better sides than Aston Villa, who they face on Boxing Day. So I think if I was to go for a Cresswell, I think I could be a happy man with that one.
Yeah, I think it's tough after that. I've had a look through them, and I mean Spurs at home to Norwich is probably the favourite after that. You mentioned Toby Alderweireld. I won't say Toby A. I'm just showing off now. I think that Spurs is pretty much the next banker on that list. I think Palace away at Bournemouth could be one there. If Bournemouth don't have Josh King or Stanislaus, I think they're going to struggle. And Palace, exceptional away from home. Arsenal away at Southampton as well. Southampton's form miserable. 5 goals in 7, as we've said. So, I think Bellerin's going to come in for you again there, John T. At last. I mean, on Monday night you must have been. I meant to mention actually, Monday night you had a lot of players going into that game. Bellerin one of them, and it just didn't turn out for you, did it?
Well, I mean, I had Özil, great, but he's the one that's the most highly owned. He did well. Ramsey was so close, so many times. Bellerin was very close to a clean sheet.
Yeah, I thought you had that.
And I had De Bruyne as well. He was looking good. I mean, I had all the good players, but I came out of that better off than most because I had 4 playing. But it just wasn't enough really.
No, I did fear it. I mean, because we were kind of neck and neck, and we ended up that way. But I looked at your team with 4 players Monday night, and I had De Bruyne and Collar on the bench, which it turned out worked out okay. But I was worried about that. I thought you got the Bellerin in the bag, but it didn't happen. Smart goal from Tory ended up. But I think that's Southampton, and then after that he's got Bournemouth and Newcastle at home. So as long as Bellerin doesn't get rotated, which doesn't look likely, I think he's going to do well, so he's another defender to look at, obviously, premium price. Fancy Island risks. Andy, over to you. Have you got 1 or 2 up your sleeve?
I'm gonna stick with what I said earlier in Sigurdsson. 3.1% owned, West Brom at home, and goals imminent table, so he's bound to come in.
Yeah, he's been playing in that number 10 role, hasn't he? Well, the false 9 rather, shall we say. And his goal attempts have shot through the roof. Yeah,
so. He got a goal disallowed against City, which I'm not sure should have been disallowed. So, he's almost got one in the back of the net already. So yeah, I think he's like Smalling, due a goal.
And you, John T, have you got one?
My old favourite, Yaya Toure, the ultimate Dullard pick. Yes. Again, goals imminent again. We've seen him on Monday. Amazing goal. Does nothing. Everyone goes, what's he doing? He's going to leave. Then, wham, goal. So, 12 goal attempts last 4 game weeks. 5 of those on target. That's pretty good. That's pretty good going.
Yeah.
So, definitely, I think he'd be. If I had a space in midfield, I think Yaya Toure would be on that. Right.
Well, here's a Fancy Island risk. It's as risky as they come. No one's going to do this, of course, but we're doing an article on him for the Premier League this week. Jordan Ayew for Villa got great fixtures. He's on the suspension tightrope, so he's 1 booking away. So I wouldn't sign him. But in a weekly game, Jordan Ayew at home to West Ham could be an option. We've said West Ham are parking the bus, but Villa have got to go for it. And Villa don't score many goals, but Ayew, I think he's got 66% involvement when he's on the pitch in goals. So if Villa score, good chance Ayew's got something to do with it. He's their one hope, I would say, of staying up. It looks remote, but Ayew could be a decent differential. Certainly in a weekly game, you can't break up your strikers to get someone like that in, though, can you? Just can't risk it. Sadly, this is what it's come to. Okay, so transfers and captains this week. We'll start with you, Andy. What's your transfer and who are you going to skipper?
So I'll start with captain because that's pretty much decided, I think, and that's going to be Mahrez. So I was on Kane previously for the home fixture against Norwich, but Mahrez just doesn't stop scoring points. He's done it all season. I realise that's obvious at this point, but I've never, until last week, I never really considered him as a captain option. So Liverpool are leaking goals. As a Klein owner, they're just not keeping clean sheets. Skirtle's out now for 6 weeks as well. I'm gonna captain Mahrez. As for transfers, I've actually got 2 this week, 2 free ones.
Oh, look at him.
I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. Over Christmas, but I probably need to ship Firmino. We've been saying that for 3 weeks, so he will probably become Ramsey or Walcott, which I haven't decided yet. And then the other one will either go on possibly a Danny Rose upgrade to Tobier, or maybe just swap Westwood to a Bournemouth midfielder, or possibly get a second goalkeeper because I've got Myhill and McCarthy. So yeah, there's a lot of options, but I think Firmino to an Arsenal midfielder, and then I'll have triple up Ozil, Giroud, and then Walcott and Ramsey.
Got to be worried about Foster, isn't he? His return is imminent now, so Myhill could be a goner for you, I think.
Yeah, I think it'll be okay over Christmas. I don't see why they just throw him in with all these fixtures, but he's back full training now, I think, from what I read. So yeah, his days are probably up soon enough into the new year. But for now, I'm probably gonna stick it out over Christmas and hope for the best.
And John T, transfer and captain?
Well, obviously over Christmas you're going to be getting rid of any of your flagged players, so I've got Mika Richards possibly flagged. Villa have good fixtures, but I really don't fancy a clean sheet. I've got Moreno alongside Dan and Bellerin. I don't fancy a clean sheet for Liverpool at all against Leicester, so I want to be benching Moreno. I want a defender. I think Richards is gone, and it's going to be someone like Cresswell, Tobier possibly. I don't actually like Spurs' defensive fixtures the next over Christmas. I think they're pretty poor actually.
Norwich is the best of the bunch, and then
Norwich is
after
the
that,
best, and then it just goes a bit nasty.
Watford, Everton, Leicester. You don't see much there, do you?
So yeah, Watford, yeah, exactly. So and Watford and Everton, I'd be backing Ighalo and Lukaku to start. But then you look at West Ham's, you've got Villa, Southampton, and then Liverpool at home, and you just look a little bit better, I think. So yeah, I think it's that. I mean, how boring is that? Getting Cresswell.
Yeah, I've almost nodded off. In fact, that was boring. But I mean, it's not a time to take risks, unfortunately. Talking of which, I don't even know. I mean, Granville's not been here to rib me about this, but did you read my preamble about my wasted transfer? I was going to go into these weeks with 2 transfers, and I did the old. I went to take Jeffrey Schlupp out, and I took Zuma out by mistake. And then to put it straight, I put Zuma back in and used my free transfer up. So that was a disaster last week. So I've only got 1 transfer when I should have 2. But to be honest, I don't know what I'd do with 2 if I had them at the moment. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. So the only transfer I can see is possibly Kolarov out for Dan. I don't know whether I'm going to start Kolarov because I've got a feeling he could get rotated. But at home to Sunderland, if he does start, he could do damage, couldn't he? I don't know where I stand with that. But I've got Dawson to come in at Swansea. He's probably a good bet, to be honest. So I've got Tobier and I've got Zuma at home to Watford. And I've got Moreno at home to Leicester, who I'm not going to play because Leicester are going to score. But, I've got options at the back. So my team's pretty settled. I don't know what to do. I'm going to keep Ayew because he's at home to West Brom. And I think Swansea could score there, although I've been saying that for weeks. Mane will be on my bench. I mean, Vardy, I'm worried about. I noticed today Ranieri has said, everyone's okay. But then if you look at the training pics, Vardy's not in any of those. There's 30 shots on Leicester's official site. No sign of Vardy. I'm a little bit worried about that. I think he's still a doubt, and Ranieri might be keeping a few things back on that. But we'll see. So he's my only flag, but I'm not going to change him, am I? Because I've got a strong bench. So I don't know. I might bank my transfer and then see what crops up, and then maybe with 2 transfers going into game week 19 I can do something with Walcott, maybe put my money where my mouth is on that. We'll see. Captain wise, now we'll talk about this because obviously Mahrez is an option at Liverpool. Lukaku at Newcastle probably is a safer bet. Kane at home to Norwich though, that would be the one, given that, as we've said with the article, and the fact that a lot of the experienced players have gone Kane over Ighalo, and if Kane comes in, that would be good for us. It would make sense to put the armband on him, but rotation's a worry, isn't it? Jonty, do you not think?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a question asked by Shinji Okazaki. He's really challenging me this week. It's about Kane rotation, and we've had it, haven't we? Pochettino has said that he will be rotating Kane. And you look at those fixtures coming up, and we've already mentioned I don't particularly fancy Spurs too much for the next two. Norwich at home on paper, that'd be the one you'd be wanting to rest him. They've started Son up front before in the Europa League, and that's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, 1-4-1.
The Mella's there. Obviously, we've spoken about Dembele's influence there. Doesn't really matter who's up top if Dembele's piecing it all together. I was all set to do Kane captain this week. I'm not going to. I think there's too much of a risk. I think it's once again, as it's been every week for me, it's between Lukaku and Mahrez. Last week I went Mahrez. I went into the game week last week. I forgot who I'd actually captained because I'd swapped between Mahrez and Lukaku.
So often, it does happen.
So much that I'd actually forgotten who it actually ended up on. And if the deadline had been an hour earlier, I'd have ended up on Mahrez. I think the same again. I'd be looking out for those little tidbits of information, yeah.
Well, speaking of playing it safe or whatever, Giggs Boyson said earlier that Martinez had come out and said that players who are like 22 years old, i.e. Lukaku, they can recover within 12 hours and be ready to go, whereas players that are 28, 29, 30, they need rest. So if you're looking for possibly safe bets, then perhaps Lukaku over Kane would be the way to go.
Yeah, he can't rest Lukaku, can he? I don't think Pochettino can rest Kane, to be honest. I just don't see it because they've just made the top four. You want to consolidate, I'd have thought, and I don't think they're finding goals easier to come by, really. Looking at the stats recently, and Kane's goal at Southampton, confidence flowing through him. I think it's all right, but it is a risk to go captaincy. Obviously, a big factor this week is the cup. We're all three of us in it. I've looked at my opponent. Good news, bad news here. My opponent is ranked 792,000 in the world, or thereabouts. So rank-wise, it's looking okay. Good news. Bad news is this guy knows what he's doing, right? He captained Tagalu at the weekend. Where'd that come from? He got 84 points to my 62. So quite frankly, I'm quaking in my slippers here. I'm a bit worried about it. I've looked at his team. I've analysed his attack, his approach, and there is a risk, as the Empire would say, on point there with the Star Wars message. I think I'm in trouble. Andy, you reckon you are as well, don't you?
Yeah, it's kind of a similar situation. He seems to know what he's doing. He's ranked only slightly ahead of me, about 50,000 places, 821k. But he scored 87 last week to my 60. He's got Ighalo, Barkley, and Vardy, who are, they're the kind of three of the main core template players that are getting me my rank where it is now, and he also has Toby A as well. So, yeah, I'd be worried if they will fire again. Then chances are I'll be out the cup as soon as I'm in it. But if Vardy, like you said, does get rested because he's out injured, then yeah, possibly. You never know. But I'm not betting on myself right now.
But my guy's got 2 transfers as well because he's not an idiot and wastes it on putting Zuma out and then putting him back in again. So he's got one over on me there as well. Jonty, how's your cup opponent looking?
Yeah. I mean, he's fine. He's got 84 as well, actually. So he's the last week, and he's got a Galu as well as his captain, and he's a chap from Nepal. This is his 3rd season, and his highest ever finish was 680,000 or so, and he's had another millionth or so finish. So
on paper, you've got this one.
He's about 20 points behind me, so I'm in the same kind of area as him. But his team's, it's great. He's got Barkley, Mahrez, Özil, De Bruyne, Vardy, Ighalo, captain, Giroud, and then he's got Ward. That's tough. It's basically it's as we going back to Cavalli's article. It's veterans v new managers. It's a straight fight between Ighalo and Kane. So I've got Kane. Even if I don't captain him, he's still a differential for me. And it's versus his Ighalo. So yeah.
It's gonna be tough indeed. So the Fantasy Football Scout Cup will start in the new year. Certain someone won that. That was me last year. There's no chance of me winning it this year. I can't win my own cup. Not the way things are going for me this year. There's a million miles on that. So we're starting that in January. We'll wait for the wild cards to become active. Maybe it gets a bit of interest, and then we'll do a qualifying round. So look out for that news on the site over Christmas. Well, I think that kind of draws it to a conclusion. I want to apologise to any children that may be watching for my demean, my appearance. I look like something out of a Crime Watch photo fit, don't I? It's terrifying. If your children are naughty over Christmas, just fire this up on Google Hangout. It'll scare the life out of them. They'll never be naughty again. John T, thanks very much for joining us with the questions and the rough with the smooth as always. Andy, same for you, and good luck with your cup opponents over the week. And well, let's see. We've got a couple of weeks till we're back on air with the Scoutcast. I guess it was the New Year when it jaunted till we're back on air again. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, we've got the fixtures coming over Christmas. And then the next ones, the next set of fixtures, I believe, is around the 12th or so.
Yeah, because we've got FA Cup week, so we won't be on air then.
So yeah, next Scoutcast will be ahead of them, I imagine.
So who knows? We might have Granville back amongst us by then. A couple of weeks, he might well be revived. Everything can change. We'll see. We'll see if Granville takes a few risks. We're trying to take risks. We're trying to make it interesting. It's just not working. If I have another couple of bad game weeks, I may just keep the beard on and keep the disguise. I need to hide my identity the way it's going. It's a good night for me.
Good night from me.
Good night from me.
Good night all. Merry Christmas, everyone.